Hi Venters, I have a question for you. And this is a good question for guys and girls. So regardless of if you're a man or a woman, if you don't mind, leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this. It's really interesting. When I was a kid, I was always under the impression that all the guys were gigolos and all the women were just these wonderful, maternal, motherly type creatures, right? In reality, as I've gotten a little older, I realized that not all the guys are that horrible and not all the women are that angelic. Today I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers. His name is Chisa Zed, and Chisa was going over a video that he was doing a reaction for, and the video he was reacting to was a woman that he described. He said her name was Dr. Heavenly. Dr. Heavenly did this video where basically she said women should never admit to cheating regardless of the situation. They should always 100% take it to their graves. She said that cheating should be between you, him, and God. Even if the man says you did it, just deny it, call him a liar, and take it all the way to the grave. Now, there's so many things that I can take from those sentences. First off, if you're willing and able to cheat once, that means that you're probably willing and able to cheat an infinite number of times, a lot of times, right? If you don't come clean ever, it also shows something about your character. The scariest thing about this video, according to Chisa Zed, was the fact, and by the way, Chisa Zed is this guy. He's a guy, even though his name might not sound like a man's name, it is. And he was saying that the scariest thing about reacting to this video was that there were over 7,000 comments, and through a quick scroll over the last 10 minutes that he was doing his video, he only found 2 that disagreed with the woman. Most of the women commenting were saying, amen, take that to the grave, don't ever admit it. And I think that's horrible. Now, on the flip side, for guys that cheat, I think once again, if you can cheat once, you can probably cheat an infinite amount of times. If you do cheat and you have that same talk of, I'm never gonna come clean, well, what are you going to do if you ever take your partner some sort of STD, some sort of transmittable disease? Are you literally going to still deny doing it to the point where now you're blaming your spouse or your partner, so to speak? So I just thought it was really, really a scary type of video. It seems to me like we live in a world where men and women are willing to just lie and never ever come clean. You know, some of us have a natural guilt, a Catholic guilt. You might have this natural guilt and you're thinking, I'm not even Catholic. But that's okay, you can still have that guilt. Guilt is actually a very good thing, because what it means is that even when no one's looking, there's still a piece of you that says, this is wrong, and I feel bad or I feel guilty about it. I believe that if we could get in tune with our inner guilt and use it kind of the way we do a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the next, that devil on your right shoulder says, do it, you're not gonna get caught, you deserve it, have fun. That angel on your left shoulder says just the opposite. Yeah, you can do it and not get caught, but you're not going to enjoy it that much because you're going to feel horrible about hurting your significant other. So where do you fall on this, ladies and gentlemen? Do you agree with me that ultimately you should try never to cheat? And if you do cheat once, you should actually contemplate coming clean? Now, there's another argument there, the opposite side, that says, Jesse, if I have a fling with somebody and all of a sudden I never see them again, why would I want to risk losing my husband or wife by admitting to them my actions and coming clean? And I suppose there's a good argument to be made there. But at the same time, no matter how you slice or dice it, If marriage is supposed to be forever and a commitment, you lost the game, so to speak. Now, let's say you did have that one fling, and let's say that you never ever cheated again, and you treated your spouse like royalty from that point forward, and you wanted to be the perfect spouse minus the coming clean part. Well, I think we can all agree that would be better than just continuously cheating. But at the same time, your spouse is being robbed of something very special. Here's the crappy thing. Because we're all such varmints and we're all so scandalous, right? There's a good chance that your spouse has probably cheated on you too. Here's the problem with thinking that way. If you think that your spouse has probably cheated on you as well, then what you're really doing is you're validating your own behavior. So it's almost like no matter what you do, you're in the wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, if I cheated on my spouse and I found out that she cheated on me, I probably wouldn't feel nearly as guilty about it anymore. But again, if you're like me and you're the type that has guilt, that's a good sign. If you're the type that doesn't experience guilt, that's probably a bad sign. It's probably a very bad sign. So normally what I do is I read their comments and we go over it one at a time, but I'm going to try something a little different. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read all the comments. And then after I read all the comments, then what we'll do is we'll talk about it. Because a lot of times I end up talking about it and then we end up reading a comment and it's like, oh, I just kind of ruined that comment. Rumi_son says a paternity test should be mandatory at birth. Okay, so I think I know where Rumi's getting at there. Let us know your thoughts down below. The next comment is from Ticha Onam Tedza, 1661. Say that name 5 times fast. It says, the irony of all the women in the comments saying don't tell is actually them outing themselves as cheaters. Aha, I like his way of thinking. Technically speaking, we should be appalled by videos like that, right? Cujo Goody says there is no point in dating now. So I think Cujo probably gets a little disappointed when he sees these videos. And that's a question I have for you guys. Dating used to be so romantic. I don't know if it is so much anymore. Q to Old One says, those of us who had sisters and cousins, we know how they lie. Okay, so this guy says you don't even need to have a girlfriend or anything. If you just have female family members, you know how scandalous those women can be. Women, you are shady. No, I'm not. I'm a good woman, Jesse. I'm a good woman. I know, but your relatives are shady, so more than likely you're shady too. Look. So I forgot to write the person's name, darn it. It says, look, even if she doesn't tell him she's cheated, either he'll find out on his own or her girlfriends will out her. So he'll find out one way or another. You got to remember, ladies, it's just like I told you. Sometimes those girlfriends of yours are just opportunistic people looking for opportunities, even if it's at your downfall. So I like that comment there. That's why it made my card. And then the final comment is at Larry H311. It says, if I find out that you cheated, it's over, period. I like all those comments. So let's start from the last one and we'll work our way backwards. So that might describe a lot of us, right? If you find out that your significant other is cheating, it's over, period. But here's the question I have for you guys. Is that just something we say out loud when we're pretty sure that our partner isn't cheating on us? And is that just a threat that we say to them? Because a lot of the times these people that say that when you're dating them, if you end up cheating on them, they end up doing the exact opposite. They end up trying to find any way, shape, or form to keep that relationship going. Am I crazy? Am I right? Am I wrong? Tell me what your guys' thoughts are. If someone cheats on you, is it over forever? Or is life a little bit more difficult than that? I would argue that sometimes life is a little bit more difficult than that. Let's say you're a homemaker, and let's say your kids are really tender ages of, let's just say, 5, 8, and 11. If you have 3 kids and you're a homemaker, and now you've got to worry about getting up a lawyer and moving out, or having your husband move out or wife move out, those things can be really challenging. Sometimes it's not as easy as just walking away from another person. Sometimes your lives are literally intertwined. That would be another argument for what I said yesterday. Guys, if we could all just stay with our partner in the form of boyfriend, girlfriend a couple of more years, make sure that we try to date people that are equally yoked with ourselves. In other words, if you have a guilty conscience and you would like to make it your whole life without cheating on your spouse, you have to make sure in the dating phase of things with your partners that they're on that same page. Sometimes that fun-loving person that you just want to spend all your time with, sometimes they're fun-loving for a reason, because they love spending the time with you too, but they also love spending time with Dick and Earl and Betty. I mean, some people will literally date anybody. So if you are really into commitment and marriage and long-term this, that, and the other, this, that, and the third, you want to make sure that you're equally yoked. It's just super important. So if I had my son or daughter next to me right now, and they were the tender age of, let's say, 12 or 13, I would let them know that, hey, over the next handful of years, you're going to have some important decisions to make. You're going to look at your partners as just people that you're dating, and there's nothing wrong in that. What you don't want to do is start talking about marriage with people, because a lot of people, we don't grow together. A lot of people grow apart. And we live in a world where it's as easy to cheat as just picking up your phone and going on a dating app. God, how different would the world be if dating apps never were a thing? Imagine if you still had to put your phone down and meet somebody the old-fashioned way. I think that could solve a lot of those problems, because I don't think cheating was nearly as popular and easy as it is nowadays. Okay, so right here, let's go up. Look, even if she doesn't tell him she cheated, either he'll find out on his own or her girlfriends will out her. So he'll find out one way or another. You know, there's an old saying that whatever happens in the dark will come out to the light, right? In other words, all these little secrets that you have, you might think that you're safe and no one will ever find out about them. And that might be true if you're good at keeping your secrets to yourself. But if you have to tell your best friends, ladies, or your best buddies, guys, there's going to be some sort of secret in the future that doesn't stay between you and them. So just know this: when you let somebody know your secrets, you might as well let the whole world know. And if the whole world knows, well, guess what? There are no secrets. And even your cell phone, guys, could you imagine if China just decided tomorrow that we're going to go into a war against each other? And could you imagine if all of a sudden they had all of your partner's racy texts and messages that they've done and shady things that they've done? Could you imagine if all of a sudden they shared that with you in the form of a text or an email, and vice versa? Could you imagine if another country right before going to war just made it where everybody in this country couldn't stand one another? It's fascinating, it really is. One time, a girlfriend of mine admitted to me that she cheated on me, and my reaction was really, really bizarre. Instead of being mad or sad or any type of emotion, I was kind of shocked. But I immediately keeled over and started bending over like those drug addicts that I make fun of, because I literally felt like the wind had been knocked out of me, and I felt this crazy intense pain in my stomach. the worst cramping feeling that I've ever had to this day in my life. And it was really weird, guys, because literally her admitting to me, she felt guilty and she got it off of her chest. I'm thankful for it. But at the same time, it just showed me when people say that they physically get sick when they found out that their partner cheated on them, a lot of times they mean it. They literally physically got sick. If any of you guys have ever been cheated on and you're okay with sharing the story, just let me know. Did you have a physical reaction to it like I did? Did you literally find yourself feeling as if you got kicked literally in the gut? Because that's what it felt like to me. That same girl that cheated on me, we actually went through a breakup. And that was the most eye-opening thing in the world for me, because I was a young adult, 18, 19 years old. And all of a sudden, me and my buddy Chris, we were walking down by Arizona State University on this road that's real famous. It's called Mill Avenue. If any of you guys have ever heard of Mill Avenue, let me know. But back in the day, cars would cruise there, and a lot of the college students and different students from around the valley would all merge into this area called Mill Avenue. And all you do is basically walk up and down the road, just seeing other people. And would you know it, I actually walked right up as my girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend I should say, was walking the opposite direction. And she was walking with somebody that I thought was my friend, this guy named Nima. And all of a sudden you start to realize, oh my God, Nima and Neb and the other Jesse and this person and that person. It was like she went out of her way to literally date guys that were my friends. Is that about as evil as it gets? And I don't know about you, but it's really difficult for people to want to just forgive and move on and move forward with somebody when they know that, other friends of theirs have had their girlfriend, or vice versa. That's why sometimes when you cheat on somebody, it goes beyond cheating. It goes to that realm of evilness. Now, one of the things that I've tried telling myself as an adult is I don't want to stay angry at something that some 18-year-old girl did to me. And I think a lot of you women need to forgive those 18 or 19-year-old guys that might have done that to you once upon a time. Because you got to remember, when you're 45 or 50 and you do something bad, you should know better. When you're 18, 19, and 20 and you do something bad, you should know better. But there's still a piece of you that's a kid when you're that young. And I just don't want to hold 18 and 19-year-old people responsible for the rest of their lives. It was my job to make sure that I was equally yoked with somebody that felt the same about me as I did about them. And I obviously didn't do a good enough job. Here's the thing you have to tell yourself, though, if you're ever cheated on. It's really not you, it's really the other person. I mean, they didn't like you as much as you had hoped, but at the same time, they did you a solid. If you know that they're cheating on you, get out of their lives now, sooner rather than later. That's why this video is so damaging. Could you imagine somebody that wants their cake and they want to eat it too? That's what it comes across to me as when somebody cheats and doesn't want to come clean about it. By the way, in this video, she was even talking about how a couple of times her husband had actually come over and shooken the guy's hand that she was having an affair with, like multiple times throughout years and years and years. Could you imagine how humiliating that is? That in addition to cheating on your spouse, you're going to actually try to have your spouse and your cheating partner kind of become friends. It's like, oh my God, how sick and evil is that? Those of us, oh, and by the way, when your girlfriends are okay with you cheating on your husband, those are the same girlfriends that are going to end up sleeping with your husband and telling him all your secrets. So again, your friends that give you all this great, horrible advice that they give, they might not be your best friends, and they might not have your best and they might not have the best of intentions. Let's say it like that. And I'd be willing to bet, out of all you women, I'd be willing to bet that some girlfriend throughout the years let you down and ended up being that skanky girlfriend that I'm describing. I know it, admit it. Cue to old one said, those of us who had sisters and cousins, we know how they lie. You got to remember, a lot of times people's first experience with people cheating is not them cheating on a partner. They see a girlfriend or a friend of theirs cheating on their significant other. They see a buddy of theirs cheating on their girlfriend. And there's a piece of us that gets jealous, like, hey, why does Bob and Amy get to date everybody they want to? And when you kind of get jealous of people, you end up doing shady things yourself. Remember, people that do all those bad things, they've got to deal with some issues. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust other people. Ultimately, people won't trust them. If your relationships are all based on lies, why would you want to copycat somebody like that? And by the way, if your sisters and cousins are skanky, there's probably a good chance you're skanky too. So if you have family members that do that iffy, bad stuff, let them know that it's not cool. That's the real problem. We live in a world where we're led to believe that the snitch is the bad guy and that the people that do the bad are actually cool. And that's where things get messed up. But I'll tell you what would you do if you saw your brother's wife cheating on him? Or what would you do if you saw your sister's husband cheating on her? You'd be pretty upset and pissed, right? So if it's not okay for people to do it to you or your family members, why would it be okay for you to do it to them and their family members and friends? Just not good. You see that woman and her daughter? That is Stacy and her daughter right there. Stacy actually is a cancer survivor, and she told us before that walking is her secret magical sauce to staying healthy. Rumi_son says a paternity test should be mandatory at birth. Guys, you want to know something? The reason everybody has to take these DNA tests and stuff is because deep down they know that a lot of people that we think are our grandparents and great-grandparents aren't. I heard somewhere that 1 out of every 4 or 5 kids is actually a pregnancy that's a lie. What do you mean by that, Jesse? Well, I didn't say it very clearly, Bob, but basically, could you imagine if you took 5 random children and then you asked them who their dad was? There's a good chance that 1 out of every 5 of them would actually give the wrong answer when it comes to who their dad is. That's evil and that's wrong. And oh my God, that's why people go and get paternity tests. Tico Anamtidza 1661 says the irony of all the women in the comments saying don't tell is them outing themselves as cheaters. Okay, so here's the $64,000 question, guys. If you were to go online and see your spouse had left a comment on this video, and their comment that they left was something to the tune of, yes, never tell. Never, ever, ever tell. It's not worth it. Wouldn't that be their way of admitting to cheating on you? And what would you do for the rest of your life? You would be wondering, what the hell is that supposed to mean? You know, Jesse, guilt is kind of like pain. After time, it kind of fades away. You know, that probably is true, guys. If you guys did bad stuff in your early 20s and now you're in your 50s, you can probably forgive and forget, you know. I'm not going to have you feel guilty for the rest of your life, you know. Just say a couple Hail Marys, you'll be okay. Cujo Goody says there is no point in dating now. Cujo Goody, you're actually right. There is no point in dating, but here's the thing. Young people should want to procreate. It's kind of something that's in our DNA, and you should inherently crave it when you're a young person, to want to procreate, right? That's what scares me about the world we live in. It sounds to me like young people are giving up on dating. You know how I would have handled it when I was younger? I would have said, okay, so nobody wants to marry me and nobody wants to have my baby, and maybe they'll cheat on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to be married. I'm not going to get engaged. I'm going to wear a jimmy, right? Wear a condom. And you're going to try to make the smartest decisions that you can. That's what you have to do. You shouldn't say, I'm going to give up on the world. I'm not going to date. I'm going to be celibate forever. That's not the way to go about it. So that's what scares me about today's kids. Guys, today's kids are just too willing to give up. Don't give up. And you want to know something? Back when I was growing up, if kids couldn't make it financially, they would actually get a second and third job. If you talk to new people, or younger people, they act like they're the only ones that do, 2 or 3 jobs. If your 2 or 3 jobs are each 14, 15 hours a week, that equates to 1 full-time job. That's not something new to your generation. We've always had guys that were go-getters, and we've always had women that are the same. So again, why would our generation would have handled it differently? Our generation would have said, okay, if you don't want to be committed to me, then I'm just going to try to get in where I can fit in. And you want to know something? That is the way to be. If nobody wants to help us lose weight, we're going to have to get in where we fit in, and we're going to have to learn to lose weight on our own, and that's why we walk. And if nobody wants to be committed to us and they want to cheat, then we're just not going to be committed with them. By the way, if you're married, consider yourself blessed. Stay married. And with that being said, have a wonderful day. Call somebody that you cheated on and tell them you're sorry. Might have been 30 years ago, but tell them anyway. Have a good night.